Hi, my name's Rob Scott, and today I'm joined by Matt Landis, CEO of Landis Technologies. Welcome, Matt.
Yes, good morning, or sorry, good whenever it is. Hello.
I think it's your morning, my afternoon, but
Yeah,
yes, welcome anyway. So,
yes.
hey, thanks for joining us on UC today. We've got a really interesting topic to go through today. For the viewers, we're really going to delve into the options for contact center on Microsoft Teams. So this is a very, very topical subject right now, given there's lots happening in the Microsoft Teams world. And Matt, you're perfectly positioned to talk to me about this today. So, hey, Matt, why don't we start with an introduction? Tell me who you are and a little bit about your business, if possible.
Yeah. So I'm Matt Landis, as you said, and I am the managing owner of Landis Technologies. And we provide Skype for Business and Microsoft Teams add-ons for Microsoft Teams and Skype for Business. So attendant console, contact center that we're developing. And also personally, I've been very interested in the Microsoft UC world for some time. I've been very active in the community, interested in all things Teams, of course, since that's where we're kind of headed. And as a company, Landis Technologies kind of said we do enable UC voice scenarios is something that we've kind of been doing. So attendant console, contact center. Over the years, we built a Skype for Business certified attendant console. Of course, with my MVP interaction over the years, a long and deep partnership with Microsoft. We have a network of partners, Landis Technology, of about 300 Microsoft partners that really focus on UC. And we interact with customers in 6 continents and over 50 countries, over 60 countries it probably is now. So that's kind of a little background.
Great stuff. Thanks, Matt. And today's session, we're going to be talking about contact center. It's not something that you normally associate with Microsoft Teams, is it? I mean, certainly Microsoft Teams is born out of a collaboration platform within the Office 365 stack, and more recently, cloud calling, kind of PBX features, giving it that real full kind of UC capability. But there's been a big gap in the portfolio, and it's not something Microsoft are particularly focusing on in terms of bringing it into the native product. So contact center, the topic for today is kind of looking at those contact center options or customer interaction or customer experience options, but however you want to describe it nowadays.
Yeah.
Talk to me about call center or contact center functionality within Teams. What are the options and what are the challenges being faced out there right now?
You're exactly right in that Microsoft Teams, when you first think of it, you think of collaboration, kind of messaging. But of course, it's, Microsoft Teams is that one place you live. So voice, phone calling, those types of features Microsoft is bringing in. They want to make that, a core piece of Teams. And then if you're going to have inside Teams, then you need a way for customers to interact, to come in there. So while Microsoft is not focusing on making this, full-fledged contact center in the traditional kind of definition, they are actually enabling some of the things that have traditionally been associated with an omni-channel kind of contact center. So they are, kind of piecemeal. There's different pieces that Microsoft is bringing. The voice part, they're kind of leaving to third-party ISVs like Landis Technologies, and there's others. There's another list of them. But there are some things that they're actually doing to bring some of those pieces inside Teams or have a Microsoft product that does that already.
Wow, so that's within the native product itself. Microsoft's doing it. And,
yeah, Microsoft is doing it now. I shouldn't make it sound like it's inside Teams. It is actually a separate product. It's actually, it's kind of, it looks like it's lining up to be one of kind of the Power products. So Microsoft Power Virtual Agent. So not inside Teams, but you can clearly see how it could be, related. I'm going off my hip, shooting from the hip here, but I think they would probably have a Teams app for that. Or if they don't, they will at some point.
So a typical scenario might be I'm an organization with 50 agents in a contact center. I've been traditionally running Skype for Business. I've got some kind of call center software platform running in the business, and I want to move to Teams. And that must be a pretty typical question right now. Would you tend to agree? What your customers say?
Yes, absolutely, all the time. So to answer that question, people are asking for contact center / call center functionality. That is a very common blocker at the moment. So people need, if you're going to move voice to Microsoft Teams, they need some kind of a solution for that piece, that voice piece. So yes, absolutely. We hear it all the time. We're getting, we're kind of focusing on the contact center that's really built specifically for Teams. But we're talking to customers all the time. We hear that all the time. Yeah, absolutely all the time.
So that being a big one, how do I know that I should be looking at third-party options? Is it just the voice piece? Is it, look, I've got a call center with lots of voice calls coming into it, I've got to look at a third-party solution?
Yeah. So the question, so some people are going to have the question, Microsoft Teams already does have auto attendance and call queues, basic call queues and auto attendance. And then, if you want to extend it out further and do all the things that you might do in a call center or a contact center, how do you know which one you're going to need? So at some point, if you have a super light, tiny, call center where you're accepting some calls and want to have kind of simple hunt groups, how do you know which is which? Microsoft is really communicating, we're not interested in making this full-blown contact center, but they do have call queues and auto attendance. So how do you know? Well, the way you kind of split those, or at least the way Microsoft is communicating, if you have kind of a simple auto attendant, hello, company so-and-so, press 1 for this, 2 for that, Microsoft will provide that. So if you're just looking for that simple auto attendant where you can press 1, Microsoft plans to do that. They also have business hours, so you can say when you're on and off. They'll let you do something like a directory search to find a user. They also have call queues where you can assign music on hold and a couple different routing methods or ringing, alerting the agents methods, but it's kind of simple. So when would you go on go towards a third-party contact center? If you're needing flexible, multi-level IVRs, so where you can design that tree and have a flow editor with custom data lookups. We talked about Empower Virtual Agent. That's a text-based, a chat-based. But if you want that in the voice world, then Microsoft's pointing you to a third-party contact center. If you need skills-based routing, so the built-in Teams queues, they have routing, but it's simpler kinds of routing, not skills-based routing. If you want, let's say something like you call into a queue and a caller wants to, they just want an agent to call them back in the order they were in the queue instead of sitting in the queue. That's a more sophisticated feature that Microsoft doesn't look like they're delivering at the moment. The more formal agent kind of scenarios where you have a call pop that automatically shows contextual information about the caller, right in a frame, integrated to the CRM. Another thing is policy-based call recording or interaction recording. They're looking to third parties to do that kind of thing. Workforce engagement and analytics. All of those things, if you're on that side, then that's going to be a third-party contact center.
I was going to say, typically when I think call centers, I think TVs with bright wallboards on with flashing calls in the queue and that kind of thing. So the analytics side, the dashboards, the wallboards, the real-time analytics and the historical analytics, these not available in Microsoft Teams.
Yeah, it's very basic in Teams. And if you want live kind of things, the Teams currently does not do. So in other words, you cannot see all the calls that are sitting in a Teams native queue, whereas something like Landis Contact Center for Teams, you can easily see everyone that's sitting in a queue, how long they've been in there, and real time. So that more sophisticated kind of analytics is moving you towards the third-party contact center for Teams.
Got it. So it's starting to make perfect sense. And I understand there's kind of 3 categories of third-party Microsoft Teams contact center solutions. Is that correct?
Yes, and maybe Microsoft has been kind of morphing on this. At first, they were saying kind of different categories of contact centers, and now they're saying maybe areas of emphasis. So, Landis Technologies, we have really been emphasizing the power piece that Microsoft talks about. And what is the difference? So, Microsoft kind of has three kind of at one time they were calling categories, now maybe more emphasis, but they have the extend, connect, and power. And the connect, in my, just to say it real blunt and straightforward, that is connecting to another contact center, let's say a traditional SIP-based contact center via direct routing. Okay. So you're kind of piping it out of Teams over to another solution. And the strength that this has is that it can work with existing SIP-based contact centers that are already written.
Got it.
Then the other one that the language Microsoft's using about contact centers that are built using the Microsoft communication APIs is power. So it's powered by the Office 365 phone system, and it's not really relying on direct routing to send it off to something else, and the voice is done over there. So I'm probably oversimplifying a bit, but that's kind of the connected via direct route over to another solution versus powered, where when you're speaking, you're using Microsoft voice actually underneath you. The communication APIs are just using Microsoft Teams. So
great. So just to summarize that, I'm going to put it really simply in my mind. So if you need just a simple, fairly rudimentary connection to a third-party contact center platform, you can use the Connect solution. Or if you want a more kind of native experience using the APIs and all the functionality that offers, then there's the power option. Is that fair to say?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, kind of leaning on the power options, which would be using the communication APIs more exclusively. Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Yeah.
And so in terms of the APIs, there's been a lot of changes, a lot of new releases of the APIs. How long has this been out, the Power API or Connect and Power? Have they been out very long?
Yes, very good question. So at Microsoft Ignite, Microsoft noted that in the first quarter of 2020, they're going to start enabling the kind of Connect scenarios. So they're in the process of doing that. They were saying early in 2020, well, we're already at March and we know how things go, but they're really, Microsoft is focusing on enabling those scenarios. So in essence, a solution that's direct route connected to Teams. And that's kind of what they're focusing on at the moment. And after that, we'll see Landis Technology with our Landis Contact Center. We're really, as we talk to customers, what we're noticing is people really want a solution just inside Teams. You're just part of the solution. And what I can easily see is that's kind of the next thing that Microsoft will be focusing on after they get their Connect story good. So you have some option with direct route, and then after that, they can focus on continuing to deepen that power option.
Great.
And it kind of brings up go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, they've been busy at Microsoft, haven't they? Because haven't they recently, or is it the same thing, released recording of interactions or sessions now, so you can record a voice video or a meeting and that kind of thing with a third-party solution?
Excellent. That brings up the communication, the Microsoft Communications API, the status and how to think about that. We get questions all day long. Is the communication API here? Do we have what we need? Well, some days the way it's communicated is communication API is here, and so we get Microsoft partners, Microsoft employees calling us, hey, the APIs are here. Can't we do everything we want? Well, the way to think about it is the communication API is not being delivered in one big drop. So in December of 2019, Microsoft announced we have some graph APIs to work with the communication part of Microsoft Teams. Well, that does not mean that everything's here. Maybe a way to think about it is the communication API features will be released that continue to enable more and more scenarios. So we say those words all day long. It's not did they drop or didn't they. The question is the feature that you need to do. Has that come yet? And kind of the way it's. Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say that it's a journey ultimately, isn't it? It's a continuation, not just one big drop, as you say. Yeah. So certainly.
And maybe in broad strokes to think about it, PSTN. So like a phone call to a bot that does something clever, that scenario was kind of enabled in December 2019. So if you want to call to a bot and maybe it looks up a balances and tells you what the balance for something is, if you want to write that, using Microsoft Graph, you can do that now. They also released a simple presence API. So you can, from a user perspective, see what the presence is looking like.
All right, very good.
So then what is kind of the next scenario? You talked about it already, the call recording scenarios. That looks, from once again, Microsoft Ignite and the way they're talking about policy-based call recording. So they had originally talked about it in terms of compliance recording, and they recently kind of changed that language to policy-based recording. That's something that looks set to be released quite soon, actually. Probably, at Ignite, Microsoft was communicating Q1 2020. So we're on the cusp of that.
What does that mean for the end customer?
So what that means is you can do call recording from a server side. So you don't have to have software running. I know there's some vendors out there that have software that you install on the PC. That's a little, and we actually had written a product like that from Skype for Business, but you have to make sure it's running on all the machines. And it's if you can do it at the server level, that's great. In essence, what Microsoft has allowed with their policy-based recording kind of interfaces, previously known as compliance recording, that you can now kind of tap into a phone call. So when you can set a policy for a certain user, say when they do a call, pull in a third-party ISV vendor's bot, and then they can do what they need to with that call. So we have written code, Landis Contact Center. We actually have code. We have a bot written that you can pull it in, and anytime a certain user picks up the phone, it starts recording. Or in our case, we're making it so that our bot's a little smart, and you can also do it based on a queue. So if they're in a certain queue, it records. If they're not, if that queue is set to be recorded, it does it. If not, it doesn't. So it does it on any, whether it's a PC client, the Teams client on the PC, or if it's on a mobile device, any device, it just works. And not only does it just work, it also will get a notification, like a little banner at the top of the Teams call, that this call is being recorded, so that you can meet legal requirements of notifying users that they're being recorded. So it really, the Microsoft policy recording that's coming out very shortly, based on Microsoft previous conferences, really lets you tap into a call and do what you need to. Some people are thinking recording, but you can also do other things. So our bot will also do sentiment analysis. So it gives you kind of a tap into the call to get access to the audio and do what you need to do, whether that's recording or other things.
Yeah, it's endless. Once you've got those APIs open, you can do so much nowadays, can't you?
Yeah, it's an excellent. I think it's a great way to make a connection to do these kind of things.
So you've got a Microsoft Teams contact center solution. Could you tell me a little bit about that proposition and how you approach that kind of that plan with your customers around kind of moving to a Microsoft Teams contact center?
Yes. So Landis Technologies, we are building the Landis Contact Center for Microsoft Teams, and we are using the Microsoft Communication APIs. And some things about our vision. Our vision, we really, in talking to customers, and we do it all day long, we feel like people really want something that's inside Teams. So we're really committed. We're not real excited about doing the connect option, where you're doing direct route to someone else. We talk to customers regularly, and we ask, would you want that kind of solution? No, what we want is to be inside Teams. We're committed to Teams, right? And so a couple things in our vision. One is we really think that this product should be simple and fast to buy, set up, and use. We really want to get it down to a couple minutes. You go to a portal, you download our app, or you download the Teams app in the App Store, and you can just get your service going. So kind of think of it as a toggle to get contact center functionality going. So that's one pillar of our vision. The other one is we think it should be familiar. So we're building for Microsoft Teams. We're not building for Avaya and Cisco and everybody else. We're building something designed for Teams. So we think it should look coherent. The UI should look like Teams. If you know how to use Teams, you should know how to use this. Not learning everything new. So simple, familiar, and of course we say our next vision is powerful. It should have all those features, like we talked about before: wallboards, recording, analytics, skills-based routing, IVRs that you can design and build. That's something that we have very close to preview. So having those features that people are really requesting. And we feel like, in our preview, we're about where, when people talk to us, they say, that's the set of features we need. Of course, we're going to continue to build more things like omni-channel and some more. But, that set of features people need. The fourth one is we really think it should be really open to things like Power Automate, formerly known as Microsoft Flow, and Power BI and Power Apps. So, kind of think of it as the Power Contact Center. We're sitting right there. Currently we give things like hooks. So for example, call hits a queue, you can trigger a Power Automate flow that does something. So you're really tied together. You're bringing all the Microsoft Power also into voice kind of scenarios. And the last one that we think is just really important, and I kind of emphasized in the beginning and I'll do it in the end, is that it's trusted. It's built specifically for Microsoft Teams. It's using the native communication APIs, and it's resting on global Azure infrastructure. So just something that just runs and just works. So that's kind of our vision for a contact center for Microsoft Teams.
Perfect. It sounds like the perfect platform, really. In terms of getting up and running fast, whether you're small or large, or you've just got a small team to start within your organization, or you've got a whole contact center to kind of roll over to a new platform. It sounds like you've got it well put together. In terms of finding out more information, engaging with Landis Technologies, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so if you want to get in touch with us, our website is landistechnologies.com, and our landing page for our contact center is landistechnologies.com/Office 365 Contact Center.
Great, thanks, Matt. And I'd like to thank you very much for getting involved today, taking us through those Microsoft Teams options for contact center and telling us a little bit about your business.